Yan, to give us a opening remarks, I'll be adding Adrian from Bicol University. Hi, Adrian.
Hello ma'am, good afternoon po. So good afternoon everyone. I am Adrian Jones de la Torre from the Philippine Society of Mechanical Engineers, Bicol University Student Unit. So first of all, we welcome you all to our 2-day free Autodesk Fusion 360 webinar, which is all about master product design with Fusion 360. So let me take this opportunity to thank you all for joining us dito sa ating first day ng ating Fusion 360 webinar. And we hope you will stay up to the last day of our webinar, which is bukas. And let me also take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of the participants from our partner schools, which are the PSME Bicol University Student Unit, PSME CNSC, PSME Biscast, and PSME UNC. So I hope everyone is watching right now. So also hindi ito mangyayari kung wala ang ating dedicated at expert na mga ma'am and sir natin from our Autodesk Community Philippines. So thank you so much po Ma'am Nelsie Marceliana and your team po for joining us and doing this free webinar po para sa ating mga students. And also sa mga participants natin, please don't forget to like and share our live stream sa mga friends natin na gusto rin matuto ng ating Fusion 360 webinar. And also don't forget to fill out the registration form na nasa ating caption ngayon, which is important siya for our e-certificate. And also make sure po na nagawa natin yung mga pinapagawa doon po sa ating Google form. And also hindi po natin dapat malaman po natin kung ano yung objectives natin ngayong webinar natin. This is to master, learn, and create, which is master the tools and techniques to design parts, learn to animate and visualize our products, and create products that are ready for manufacture. So everyone, welcome to our first day of our webinar. Sana may mga matutunan tayo ngayong araw and sa susunod na webinar natin bukas. So thank you so much to our partner schools, sa mga participants na nanonood sa atin ngayon. Thank you so much po. And also to the Autodesk Community Philippines, which is also nandito rin sa atin si Miss Nelsie Marceliana. Without them, hindi tayo magkakaroon nitong free webinar. Thank you so much po. Thank you to all and to the organizers. Enjoy!
Thanks, Adrian. Thank you. And yeah, to all our schools who are watching right now, if you want or if you need a Autodesk software training, you can contact us in Meetup and in our Facebook page. Okay, and I'll be adding our instructor for today, Miss Melj Bakiran. Hi, Miss Melj.
Hello po.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I'll be giving the floor to Miss Melj. Go ahead, Miss Melj.
Okay, hi everyone. I am your instructor for today, Meljh Bakiran. And let's start. Hi everyone and welcome to Master Product Design with Fusion 360. Let's proceed creating challenge number 1. Now I'm going to show you the drawing. This is our first challenge, and when we scroll down, it's in millimeters, but the fourth challenge is in inches. Let's proceed creating challenge number 1. Let's make sure that our model is in millimeters. Heading up, going to document settings, twirl this down, and notice it is in millimeters. Notice there are no planes in our graphics area. Let's unhide that, going up and clicking origin. Notice there are now planes on our graphics area. We are going to sketch on our XZ plane, selecting our XZ plane, heading up to toolbar, selecting create sketch. Notice on our right we have finish sketch. and our sketch palette, and our view cube. To pan, simply hold the middle mouse button. To zoom in and out, just use the scroll wheel on our mouse. Let's pan. Now we are going to discover the basics of constraints. Let's now create a line, heading to create, selecting create, and click line. The shortcut key for line is L. Left click. Let's create a line, left click, and I want to end the chain of lines, simply double left click. Let's left click and left click. Another way of ending chain of lines is simply hitting escape on our keyboard. Now I want to apply horizontal and vertical constraints on these diagonal lines. To do that, selecting this line, heading up to toolbar, going to constraints, selecting horizontal vertical constraint. Notice there's an icon that pops up, knowing that we have applied a sketch constraints. Hovering over to my left, selecting this line. Now notice it is now vertical. Hitting escape. Now I want this endpoint and this endpoint to be coincident. Let's head up to constraints, selecting coincident, selecting this endpoint of our horizontal line and this endpoint of our vertical line. Notice it is now coincident. Let's make coincident to our origin and our endpoint of our vertical line, heading up to constraints, selecting coincident once more, selecting this endpoint and our origin. Let's hit escape. Let's create another line, heading to create, selecting line, left clicking on our origin, and left click. Hitting escape to end the chain of lines. Now I want this line to have the exact same length of this line. The sketch constraint for that is equal. Heading up to constraints once more, selecting equal, selecting this line and this line. Notice this line has now the same length of this line below. That is the equal constraint. Hitting escape, let's create a circle. Let's left click and left click. Hitting escape. Another sketch constraint is tangent. Now I want this line and the circle to have a smooth transition. To do that, selecting tangent on our constraints, selecting this line and this circle, hitting escape. Notice it has a smooth transition. That is the tangent constraint. Now another sketch constraint is parallel. Let's create lines. Heading to create, selecting line, left click, and double left click to also end the chain of lines. Let's left click and left click, hitting escape to end the chain of lines. Heading up to constraints, selecting parallel, selecting this line and this line. Now these two lines are now parallel to each other. Our next sketch constraint is concentric. Let's create another circle. Heading up to create, selecting center diameter circle. Let's left click and left click. Now I want this circle, the center point of our circle, to be coincident to our center point of this circle. Let's head up to constraints, selecting concentric, selecting the circle and this circle. Notice when I zoom in, they are now coincident. Their center points are now coincident to each other. Hitting escape. Our next constraint is symmetric. Let's create a line. Left click, double left click, double left click, and double left click. Let's head to constraints, selecting symmetry, selecting this line, and this line. Notice it is now symmetrical. That is the symmetry constraint. Our next constraint is collinear. Hitting escape, creating a line, left click, hitting escape, zooming out. I'm going to pan to my left. Let's create another line, left click, and double left click. Collinear constraint causes selected lines or ellipse axis to lie on the same line. Let's now add collinear constraint, heading up to constraint, selecting collinear, selecting this line, and this line. Notice they are now collinear. Our last constraint is perpendicular. Hitting escape, heading up to create, selecting line, creating a line here, and a line here. Heading up to constraints once more, selecting perpendicular, selecting this line, and this line. Notice, they are now collinear to each other. And that is the last constraint. Zooming out, now that you know all the constraints, let's now proceed creating challenge number 1. Okay, hi, Richel Pakul, Maria Teresa, welcome, Maricar Peralta. Hi everyone and welcome. Zooming out, let's create a window selection by holding the left mouse button. With all the sketches selected, let's hit delete. For challenge number 1, we're going to utilize millimeters. Let's inspect once more, heading to document settings. Notice our units are in millimeters, so that's good. Now this is the first challenge. It is set to millimeters, but challenge number 4, which is this, is in inches. Let's now proceed making challenge number 1. Now let's head to create, selecting line, left clicking on our origin, double left click to end the chain of lines. Let's pan to our right, left click on our origin, and left click, and double left click to end the chain of lines. Heading up to create once more. This time, we're going to create 3-point arc. Notice, there are other types of arcs like center point arc and tangent arc. But for now, we're going to focus on 3-point arc, selecting this point and this point and left click. Let's create another line, left click on this endpoint and left click to this endpoint of our arc. Creating a circle, let's left click and left click. Hitting escape, let's make this center point of our circle and our center point of our arc coincident. The sketch constraint for that is obviously concentric. Heading up to constraints, selecting concentric, selecting this circle and this arc. Hitting escape. Another great practice in 2D sketching is to create the outline of the sketch, then add constraints, then adding dimensions. But notice, when I zoom in, this line is color black, and these other lines are blue. Black lines means they are fully defined, meaning it can't be moved. This line can't be moved. Blue lines are not fully defined, meaning it can be moved. Notice when I move this line, it's moving. It has freedom. That's because we didn't add dimensions yet. Now, we're going to add dimensions on our sketch. To add dimensions on our sketch, let's head up to Create, hover over to our right, and select Sketch Dimension. The shortcut key for Sketch Dimension is also D on our keyboard, selecting Sketch Dimension. Now we're going to select this horizontal line. Let's key in 120. Now let's select this horizontal line and our horizontal line below. The distance is going to be 25. Selecting this arc, the radius is going to be 20. Selecting this circle, the diameter is going to be 20. Selecting our diagonal line and our horizontal line, the angle to be 45. Hitting enter. Selecting this vertical line and this center point of our circle, the distance is going to be 30. Hitting escape. Now that we have dimensions, let's add constraints once more. Let's hit escape to enable sketch dimensions. Now I want this line to be collinear to this fully defined horizontal line. Heading up to constraints, selecting collinear, selecting this line and this line. Hitting escape. Now I'm going to move our arc and our circle to see why it's not fully defined yet. Now I see we need this center point of our circle aligned to this horizontal line. To do that, the sketch constraint for that is obviously horizontal vertical. Heading up to constraints, selecting this endpoint of our horizontal line and this endpoint of our circle. Hitting escape. Congratulations, our sketch is now fully defined. Now we're going to extrude our sketch. To do that, let's head up, selecting finish sketch. Now I'm going to hover over on our view cube. Notice when I hover over, there's a house that popped up and arrows, but let's select the house for an isometric view. Hover over to our left, going to create, selecting this box. It is extrude. The shortcut key for extrude is E on our keyboard. Let's left click, selecting this sketch. From direction, let's set that to symmetric. The measurement to be whole length. And let's add the distance to be 20. Hitting OK. And congratulations for completing challenge number 1. We are now going to proceed to challenge number 2. Okay, hi everyone. Hi to Sabrina Ann, Rika Paula, Kenneth, Mark, Fritzy Ann, Don Jaime. Okay, everyone, inviting you to join Autodesk Community Philippines. Kung sa hindi pa po naka-join, inviting you to join Autodesk Fusion 360. And that's all. Let's move forward and remove. Now we're going to create a new sketch or part. Let's head up, hovering over to our left, top left, hovering over to this paper, selecting this drop down option, and select new design. The shortcut keyboard for that is Control N. Let's left click. Now that we have a new design, we're going to utilize millimeters. So let's inspect once more. Going to document settings, twirl this down, and it's in millimeters, so that's good. Let's enable our planes. And now we're going to sketch on our XZ plane once more. Selecting this XZ plane, head up to create, and select Create Sketch. I'm going to show you challenge number 2. This is challenge number 2. Now, let's head up to create. Selecting line, let's create a horizontal line here, a vertical line, a horizontal line, another line here, a line here, a line here, a line, zooming in, and left click. Hitting escape. Notice there's an extra line. Let's trim that. To do that, head up to modify and select trim. Selecting this line, it is now trim. Let's hit escape to disable trim. Zooming out, I'm going to pan. Now, we're going to create circles. Head up to create once more and select center diameter circle. Left click, left click, left click, left click, left click, and left click. Hit escape. Now we're going to add dimensions on our sketch. Now we're going to head up to create once more. Selecting sketch dimension. Selecting this vertical line. And this vertical line. The distance to be 70. Zooming out. Let's pan. Selecting this line and this line. The distance is going to be 80. Let's select the center point of our circle and our horizontal line. Distance to be 15. Selecting this horizontal line and this circle. The distance is going to be 40. Selecting this line once more and this circle. Distance to be 65. Now let's select this vertical line and this center point of our circle. Let's key in 30. Selecting this vertical line once more and selecting this center point of our circle. Zoom out and pan. The distance is going to be 55. Selecting this vertical line and this vertical line. Let's key in 10. Let's add a diameter for this circle. Diameter to be 12. Let's hit escape to disable sketch dimensions. Now I want these other circles to also have a diameter of 12. Let's head to constraints, selecting equal, selecting the circle and the circle, the circle and the circle, the circle and the circle, circle and the circle, this circle and this circle. Hitting escape, our next intent, I want these circles to be horizontally aligned with this circle. Heading up to constraints once more, selecting horizontal vertical constraint, selecting this circle and this circle, the center point of our circle and the center point of our circle, the center point of our circle, and the center point of our circle. Let's add a dimension once more, selecting this horizontal line and this horizontal line, distance to be 80, hitting enter, and hitting escape. Let's move our sketch to find out what's wrong. Now I want this midpoint of our horizontal line to be coincident to our origin. To do that, let's head up to constraints, selecting coincident, selecting our origin. Notice, when I hover over this horizontal line, there is no midpoint. To do that, to pop up the midpoint of this horizontal line, is to press Shift on our keyboard. Let's hover over. Notice, there's an X and a triangle that popped up. Let's left click. And we have now coincident the midpoint of our horizontal line and our origin. Let's head up to constraints once more. Selecting horizontal vertical, I want these other 4 circles vertically aligned with this circle. Selecting this circle and this circle, this circle and this circle, this circle and this circle, this circle and this circle. Hitting escape, I want this horizontal line to be aligned with this center point of our circle. Let's add a horizontal vertical constraint once more. Hovering over this horizontal line, selecting this endpoint and our center point of our circle. Same as here, select the endpoint and our center point of our circle. Hitting escape. Notice, our sketch is now fully defined. Let's now extrude our sketch. Hitting escape. Notice, at our drawing, it has a fillet. Another great practice is adding fillets at the end of the extrusion. Let's now finish sketch, heading over to create, selecting extrude, selecting this face, head over to our view cube, and make isometric view. From one side in direction, let's make the symmetric measurement to be whole length and add the distance. Let's add a distance of 10 and hit OK. Now we're going to add fillets. Heading over to modify, selecting fillet. The shortcut key for fillet is F. Left click, selecting this edge. With the dimension field active, let's key in 10. Selecting OK. And congratulations for completing challenge number 2. Okay guys, hi to Christian Mirandila, Wesley, Mark. Also inviting you to join Fusion 360 Worldwide Users and Autodesk Community Philippines in Meetup. So now I'm going to create another part. With our challenge number 2 finished, let's proceed creating challenge number 3. Let's head up to our top left, selecting this paper icon or file, selecting this drop-down option, and left-click on New Design. Let's inspect the units to be millimeters. That's okay. Let's enable our planes, and we're going to sketch on our XY plane. Selecting our XY plane, head to Create, and select Create Sketch. Now I'm going to show to you our drawing. This is challenge number 3. Let's now create this challenge. Let's head over to Create, selecting Line. We're going to make a helper line for our sketch. Left click on our origin and make a vertical line. Left click, hitting escape, hitting L on my keyboard, left clicking on our origin, hovering over up, and left click, hitting escape, deleting this line. Now we're going to create circles. Head to create, selecting center diameter circle, creating a circle on our origin, creating a circle on our end point, and this end point. Let's head to create once more, creating a line, hitting escape, hitting L on our keyboard once more, making a line here, a line here, line here, hitting escape. Now we're going to add arcs, 3-point arcs. Let's head to create, go to arc, hover over our arc, and select 3-point arc. Let's left click and left click, left click and left click, left click, left click, left click, and left click. Hitting escape. Now that we have created the outline of our sketch, we're going to add constraints and dimensions. Let's hit escape, head over to constraints, and select tangent. I want this diagonal line and our arc to have a smooth transition. Selecting our arc and our diagonal line, our arc and our diagonal line, our arc and our diagonal line. Let's make tangent to the arcs and lines. Hitting escape. Let's dimension our sketch. Heading over to create, selecting sketch dimension. Selecting this line and this line. Angle to be 60. Hitting enter. Zooming out, I'm going to pan. Selecting this arc. Radius to be exact 15. Selecting the circle. Let's key in 15. Let's select the center point of our circle and this origin. Key in 75. Hitting enter. Selecting this center point of our circle or origin and this center point of our circle. Distance to be 90. Selecting the circle, diameter to be 20. Selecting this arc, radius to be 30. Hitting enter. Hitting escape. But notice, in our drawing, the 30 the radius is 60 diameters. To make the radius dimension to be diameter dimension is to simply right click on the dimension, head down and select toggle diameter. It is now 60. I want this circle to also have a diameter of 15. Let's make that equal. Head up to constraints, selecting this circle and this circle. Now I want the center point of our circle and our center point of our arc to be coincident. Same as here, heading up to constraints, selecting concentric, selecting this arc and this circle, this arc and this circle. I want this arc and this circle to be concentric too, selecting this arc and this circle. Hitting escape. Earlier, I said that these lines are a helper, so let's make that into a construction line. To do that, let's simply select this line, head to our sketch palette, go to line type, and select construction. Same as here, let's make that construction. That's okay. I want this arc to also have a radius of 15, making that equal. Selecting this arc and this arc. Now let's dimension this arc. Heading up to create, selecting sketch dimension, selecting this arc. Let's add a radius of 10. Hitting escape. Now let's head up to constraints, selecting parallel. Let's make this line and this construction line parallel. This construction line and this line parallel. Hitting escape. With our sketch fully defined, let's now extrude our sketch. Heading up, selecting finish sketch, heading over to create, selecting extrude, selecting this face. Let's make this into an isometric view. From one side, let's set this to symmetric, measurement to be whole length, and the distance is going to be 5. Hit OK. Congratulations for completing challenge number 3. Okay guys, once again, congratulations for completing challenge number 3. Hi to John Robert, Santiago Gianrico, Miss Honey, Cedric Francia, Jojo Wilson, and Kevin. Okay, let's move forward. Now, we're going to create challenge number 4. The units for challenge number 4 is inches. Let's edit that. Twirl down document settings. Hover over and select this paper with pencil icon. Unit type to be inch. Selecting OK. Now, let's hit R on our keyboard. Keyboard shortcut for rectangle. We are prompted to select a plane. Selecting this plane. I want the rectangle to be a center rectangle. Head to create. Going to rectangle and selecting center rectangle. Let's create a center rectangle on our origin. Notice our dimension field is active. Let's key in 3.5. Hitting enter. Let's add a dimension once more. Selecting this line and this line. Key in 2. Hitting enter. Hitting escape. Notice when I hit E on our keyboard, it automatically goes to the extrude feature. With the dimension field active, let's key in 1.75. 1.75. Hit OK or press enter. Now, we're going to sketch on this face. To do that, just simply right-click, head down, and select Create Sketch. Let's hit L on our keyboard, zooming in, selecting this, hover over this line, left-click, and left-click, hitting Escape. I want this point and this point to be coincident. Head up to Constraints, selecting Coincident, selecting this endpoint and this endpoint, hitting Escape. Now let's hit D on our keyboard, selecting this diagonal line and this horizontal line, angle to be 60. Now, we're going to hit E for extrude, selecting this face, hover over our view cube and select this house icon. Let's move this arrow, extend type to be to object. Let's now rotate by holding shift and the middle mouse button at the same time, selecting this face and click OK. Let's now hover over to this face, right-click, and create sketch. I'm going to hover over here, selecting this edge, hitting P for project, selection filter to be specified entities, and click OK. Now we're going to create a line. Go to create, selecting line, or L on our keyboard, left-click, 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 and left-click. Let's add dimensions by hitting D on our keyboard, selecting this edge and this line, key in 0.5, same as here, selecting this edge and this line, key in 0.5, hitting enter, hitting escape. Now I'm going to select this face, holding control, selecting this face, hitting E for extrude. With the dimension field active, let's key in negative 1.25. Operation to be cut and hit OK. Congratulations for completing challenge number 4. Okay, so let's proceed to the last challenge. But first, hi to Ike Chester, Robert Cope, Dana May, Miko, Marvin, Hazel, Christian Sequoia, Jomel Lagarto, Mark, Gina, John Lawrence. Let's proceed to our last challenge. Now we're going to create challenge number 5 from document settings, units to be millimeters. Let's hit L for line and let's select a plane. Let's left click, left click, left click. Hitting escape. Let's make this line vertical. I'm going to pan. Let's add sketch. Head over to create or simply hit D on our keyboard. Selecting this line and this line. Key in 110. Selecting this line and this line. Key in 50. Let's select this line and this line. Distance to be 30. Selecting this line and this line. Distance to be 15. Selecting this line and this line. Distance to be 20. Let's hit escape. Let's make collinear to this line, to this line. Selecting collinear, selecting this line and this line. Hit escape once more. I want this midpoint of our line to be coincident on our origin. To do that, let's make midpoint on our origin first. Hover over our horizontal line and press shift at the same time. Let's now hover over. Notice there's an X and a rectangle icon popped up. Let's left click, hitting escape. Our sketch is now fully defined. Let's now extrude our sketch, hitting E for extrude. The height to be 60. Hitting OK. Let's rotate, holding shift and holding the middle mouse button at the same time. Hovering over this face, right click and create sketch. Hitting L on our keyboard for line. Let's left click on this edge and left click. Hit D for dimension, selecting this endpoint and this edge. Distance to be 15. Selecting this endpoint and this vertical line. Let's key in 40. Hit OK. Hitting escape. Selecting this face and hitting E for extrude. Let's make an isometric view. From extend type distance to be to object. Selecting this object, operation to be cut and hit OK. Now let's rotate once more. Hover over this face, right click and create sketch. Let's hit L. Let's left click and left click. Hitting D for dimension, selecting this vertical line and this endpoint. Key in 30. Selecting this point and this point. Distance to be 10. Hit escape, selecting this face, hitting E for extrude. Extend type distance, let's set this to object. Let's rotate, selecting this face and click OK. And congratulations for completing challenge number 5. Okay guys, so hi to MJ. Good afternoon, Brix Lloyd, Mark Angelo, Clark and Darren J, Denmark. And last thing, I'm going to share to you GrabCAD. GrabCAD is a free cloud-based collaboration that helps engineering teams view and share CAD files. I'm going to show to you how to render in Fusion. So I'm going to search a Pokemon ball. Let's download this. I already have downloaded this file, which is here from design. Let's make this to render. Hitting appearance or S. Now I'm going to rotate. I want the color of these two bodies to be red. So let's go. Let's duplicate this. Let's edit the color. Let's make this into red. Maybe this done. Okay, let's drag and drop. Let's drag and drop. Oh, let's make this white. In my paint, let's also make this white. Now let's pan. Head up to in canvas. Let's click this. Hi to Mark Angelo, Brian Jerome, Vinci Garchi. Hello. Now we are rendering our Pokeball. Pokeball. I'm going to save this as JPEG. So let's just wait for the render to finish. This blue line should finish in somewhere here. We're almost there. Hi to Lord. Hi. Now let's capture image. Let's hit OK. Let's save. That's how you render. Basically, that's all.
Hi everyone! If you have questions, feel free to post it in our comment section. Okay, hi! Okay, si from Arthur Sodsod, kailangan po ng Fusion 360 ng video card or graphics card. So, I'll be sharing the system requirements for Fusion 360. So, I'll be sending this link as well in our comment section. So, as seen here, graphics card must be dedicated GPU with 1 GB or more of VRAM, integrated graphics with 6 GB or more of RAM. So, for Fusion 360. Okay, and for ayan, potato, saan po i-upload ang activity? So, yung activity nyo po ay isa-send nyo or i-upload nyo sa inyong Google Drive. Tapos, yung drive link, iyon po yung isa-send nyo sa amin. And we'll post additional information regarding our output, no? But basically, kailangan yung gawin yung 5 exercise and then i-render nyo siya. Okay? You need to render it. Ayan. So, pinost ko sa comment section yung system requirements ni Fusion 360. Tapos, how to download Autodesk Fusion 360. Meron po tayong download link sa registration form. So, please do check our description. Ang ating description description natin sa Facebook and Facebook, tapos nandyan yung ating registration form. Yung nasa loob ng registration form, kailangan nyo po yung sundin, inviting you to join us in Autodesk Community Philippines sa Facebook, and Autodesk Fusion 360 Worldwide Users sa LinkedIn, and Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group Philippines in Facebook. Of course, CAD Community Asia in Facebook. No? And then we ask you to create an account in Digital Creatives Worldwide. No? So, please do create an account there, and we'll share you a free Fusion 360 course. Yan. Okay, and to those who are interested to master 2D sketching, I'll be sharing a course with you. The course is absolutely free, and once you finish it, you will receive a course completion certificate, no, with output. Okay, so regarding certificates, so our session will end tomorrow. So we'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Again here in Autodesk Community Philippines, and in our Facebook pages ng BU, ng Biscas, no? And then sa mga umattend ngayon, you'll be receiving certificate of event participation. Okay, and to those who will pass an output, you will receive a certificate of course completion. Okay, so we'll see you in Digital Creatives Worldwide, and we'll see you there. You just need to enroll. The course is free. Okay, Miss Melch, any more announcements?
Bukas po yung webinar is about assembly. Yun lang.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining, and for our final attendance, please do please do post in our comment section #master2D sketching. Okay, yung link natin for our 5 drawing, will be uploading it in our Autodesk Community Philippines Facebook group. So, inviting you to join us there. And in Autodesk Fusion 360 User Group Philippines, inviting you to join. Yan. That's the link for our Fusion group. So, inviting you to join para makita nyo ang ating 2D drawing. Okay? And if you have a follow-up questions, feel free to message us in meetup.com/Autodesk Community Philippines. Okay, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye guys. Thanks, Miss Melge.